Good morning, Victor Senior High. My name is Brody and Brynne.
And I am Brynne Kessler, and this is the Victor Voice.
We know there have been a lot of questions swirling around about what next year is going to look like, so one of our own journalists, Robbie Miller, sat down with Dr. Terranova to get the most up-to-date news for the school.
The interview was extensive and far-reaching, covering everything from athletics to lower grades to the New York State Health Department and our plan for next year. The interview has been edited for clarity and length.
Here's that interview.
Hi, I'm Robbie Miller of the Victor Voice. I was granted an exclusive interview with Dr. Terranova, the proud superintendent of Victor Central Schools District. Mr. Terranova, how are you today?
I'm great, Robbie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for stopping by.
You kidding? When the Victor Voice calls, I'll definitely I need to respond and talk to you and take as many questions as you need.
So, looking back on this year, what are you proud of and what would you have done differently?
Well, I think I'm really, really proud. It sounds a bit of a cliche answer, but I'm proud of the way the entire staff and students handled this. This most complex situation, maybe the most complex situation education's faced in over 100 years. I think that's what I'm most proud of. This community has constantly risen up to the challenge since I started in February of 2020. Differently, I think, I wish I could continue to improve. I know we communicate a lot, but just to be even more upfront around communication, because there's so many things going on and so many families and staff members who need to know what's happening.
So, if we do not return to school this year, do you predict that we will return to school in the fall?
Yes. I'm going to do everything in my power, and I know people all over the place are going to do everything in their power to return in the fall. I think it's imperative that we return 5 days a week for pre-K through 12 in the fall. And I just believe that we have to reopen in the fall, and I will be as strong an advocate as I can to make sure that that occurs and that our district's able to reopen fully 5 days a week for everybody.
Looking ahead to next year, can you provide any information on the remote learning options?
Yeah, that's the other thing we're going to have to really work through. As I think I've heard from students and staff, it's quite a bit of a challenge to be zooming in and teaching at the same time, especially if we're going to have 20 to 25 kids in a class. So the first thing we need to figure out for next fall is, will the state mandate that families can still have a remote learning option? And that's really up to the state to decide that. If they decide there isn't, then it is highly likely that we wouldn't have that remote option, just like we would any other year, and we would be focused on complete in-person learning. If the state does mandate 100% in-person or 100% an option of 100% virtual learning, then we're going to work closely, June, July, and August to see if we can hire enough virtual teachers to try to support the secondary level, as well as look at some opportunities we have through Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES to have regional online classes. The goal would be to significantly decrease, at least from my standpoint, the number of teachers and kids having to zoom into classes that already have 20 to 25 kids in person in them.
So, do you believe that the New York State guidelines for schools are fair?
Well, that's a great question. They have a huge responsibility, because if they make a mistake in the wrong direction, people lose their lives. And so they have a lot of responsibility. Having said that, I would love it if they could shift some type of way to tell whether a school is ready to return fully to more data tied to the school's community versus the county.
Considering athletics, we've obviously seen the return of full contact sports like football and volleyball. Have we seen any spike in cases because of that?
Not from my understanding, no. I didn't see a spike, which is another piece of evidence that we could return kids fully 5 days a week, in my opinion.
About mental health, how do you believe the pandemic and this hybrid system of learning has affected the mental health of students, teachers?
I think it's a big effect. You can look at the general data and see the mental health crises that are happening, not just in our community, but all over. That's increased. That's one of the reasons we need to get kids back 5 days a week. And by the way, it's not just for the students. Our adults are struggling too. Our staff has put a ton of effort into trying to make this method the best it can be, but it's an incredibly stressful process to teach in a way that they know, A, they've never done before, and B, they, for the most part, know it's not as effective as if they had kids in front of them 5 days a week.
Well, Mr. Turnova, it's been a pleasure. Do you have any final message for our seniors or students?
For our seniors, especially, yeah, I want to thank you first of all, because you asked some of the best questions I've ever been
Oh,
asked.
thank
A
you.
lot tougher than some of the other ones I get from adults. So I think you got a fine future. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I just tell, especially all our students and especially our seniors, we're going to try to, first of all, thank you for welcoming me over the last 14 months. Sorry, I love it here. You are an exceptional group of people. And for our seniors, we're going to try to have the most normal possible senior experience at the end of the year as we possibly can.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, Dr. Turnova. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Great to be here.
We hope you found it informative and that you are as hopeful for a strong start to next year as we are.
Thank you for watching, and you can look forward to one more episode to wrap up this year. This episode was produced by Joey Santola with engineering by Emily Davis, and I am Brody Engelbrett.
And I am Brynne Kessler with the Victor Voice signing off.